Hey Lighthouse, how you doing? Hey, first of all, I realized that this video is getting posted late and there's a reason for that. The reason is I couldn't get my act together. Sorry about it. We'll do better next time. Hey, let's have some devotions together this afternoon and let's keep talking about Daniel chapter 5. We've talked about King Belshazzar and his just hubris, it's just arrogance that thinks that he can grab that which is holy and set apart for worship of Yahweh and worship these false gods. He's got the golden and silver utensils from the temple in Jerusalem, and we've talked about the shock as the handwriting, the hand appears on the wall and starts writing. And today we'll look at what exactly was written on the wall, and it picks up in verse 24 of chapter 5. Read it along with me. Then from his presence the hand was sent, and this writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed: many, many tekel and parson. This is the interpretation of the matter. Many. God has God has numbered the days of your kingdom, and it shall be brought to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Peres, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. And here's what we need to talk about as we read this. Of course, this is just a wonderfully, strange story. And you might think, oh my gosh, well, unless the Medes and the Persians are going to be a problem, there might not be much for me here. But man, it is such a theme of the whole scriptures that it is possible for one thing to be happening from a human perspective, but from God's perspective, and that is the true perspective, like the metaphysical truth of the universe, there is something completely different happening. And what is happening in this room is that this king just knows he's the man, and everything is working out. You think of just a rebellious person who goes, clearly there's no God. Clearly, if God really wanted to solve all of the bad things in the world, he could, and he's not. So there is no God. So I might as well just live for me. And you think about how sometimes it seems like that's true. The Psalms are filled with, like, God, why are the bad guys winning? And it sure looks like people rebel with no consequences. But what is actually going on is that God is looking at Belshazzar's kingdom and saying, you've been weighed and measured, and you've been found wanting. You know, I just taught the story of Gideon to the youth group the other night, and the exact opposite's happening there. Gideon is this fearful guy, beating out the wheat in the wine press, hiding from the Midianites. And God comes to him and goes, "Oh, mighty man of valor." God sees something in him that Gideon can't see in himself. God sees something in Belshazzar that Belshazzar can't see in himself as well, and it's lack. Belshazzar looks at his life and he goes, "There is no lack. I'm the king of the world. I've got people at my disposal. Look at this party I'm throwing. There's girls, there's dudes, there's wine. We can mock whoever we want to mock. We can promote whoever we want to promote." But then God looks at him and goes, "You've been found wanting, pal. And because of that, your kingdom is going to be ripped away from you." Another thing to think about as we read this story is we really feel like all the kingdoms of the world, whether it be a small kingdom like a business or a church, or national kingdoms, or Western culture versus Eastern culture, whatever kingdoms might be, we really feel like these are the cause and effect is only human. That it's just humans did these things, and so these things happen. Of course you reap what you sow. Of course what we do matters. But man, the Bible opens up this other thing that says, actually, God is the one making these decisions. And God looks at Belshazzar and says, "I've seen you. You've been weighed and measured, and you lack, bud." And Belshazzar cannot see lack in himself. If you and I get to the point where we cannot see lack in us, this is the problem with the Pharisees too. It's the problem with the the corrupt priesthood in the Old Testament and the corrupt priesthood in the New Testament, is you get to the point where whether it's with religious perfection or whether it's with your ability to be successful in some area of life, or whether it's with IQ and intellect, or whether it's with athletic prowess or musical prowess or artistic prowess, or whatever it is, when you lose humility and you say, I don't have any lack, man, you need to know that while it might look like that from your perspective, it might not look like that from God's perspective. So what this king needs to know is that because of his hubris, because of his rebellion, the kingdom is going to be ripped away from him. And the kingdom absolutely is ripped away from him. Then Belshazzar gave the command, and Daniel was clothed with purple. A chain of gold was put around his neck, and a proclamation was made about him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. So Daniel, this happens to Daniel a lot. God uses him to interpret stuff. The king says, we should honor Daniel. Totally misses that it's not Daniel you should be honoring. It's God you should be honoring. So Daniel is promoted, and you think, man, promoted to be third in the kingdom just in time for Darius the Mede to come in and destroy Belshazzar and remove the kingdom from him. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was killed, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Man, Belshazzar was blind. He was blinded by his success. He was blinded by his arrogance. He was blinded by his pride. And it took this strange story of handwriting on the wall. It took the man of God, Daniel. It took God working to reveal the truth. To Belshazzar, it was too late. He died that night. But to reveal the truth to the rest of the kingdom that just because somebody is high and mighty in this world's eyes does not mean there's not lack. And you and I should take this seriously. We feel like a whole lot sometimes, but we need to know that humility, a lack of pride, submission to God, these are the things that overcome our lack, not us being awesome. So today, humble yourself before the mighty hand of God, and at the proper time, you let him raise you up. All right. Be loved, Lighthouse.